you a home grower looking for a little bit of help? Are you ready to learn as much as you can about your favorite hobby? The Homegrown Helpers brings you informative interviews from experienced growers that have taken the next steps in their journey and decided to help you grow top quality cannabis all in your home. Now welcome in our host, Rob Smith, along with this week's Homegrown Helper. And welcome to the show, everyone. Are you ready for this week's grow tips and tricks from another Homegrown Helper? I know I am. First, we have some things to ask of you, our audience. Like any other podcast you listen to, we reach more people when you rate, review, subscribe, share, so on and so forth, just like you hear from every other episode from every other podcast host. So if you wouldn't mind taking that brief moment to hit that subscribe button at the top of the podcast platform you're listening to, whether that's iTunes, Spotify, whatever that is, we would certainly appreciate it. And then if you take just one more moment and share it with a friend directly, that's the best way to make sure that they're receiving the content and we can add another listener. So we'd appreciate it if you can take that time. Also, you probably already know this, but we are the second podcast in the Growcast family of podcasts. And if you haven't given a listen over on Growcast, we really, really wish you would. Jordan interviews some amazing industry leaders and entrepreneurs from all over the country, the world even, and but brings you amazing grow advice via the show regulars like Wolfman and Michael Travers. So not only are you getting advice on how to grow and tips and tricks on specific topics like topping and training or soil mixing or foliar spraying, which we just recently did an episode on, but you're also getting direct advice from some of the industry leaders. Like we just finished up an interview with Danny Danko, Ed Rosenthal. One of my favorites recently was Patrick, the Soil King. Just really dropped some amazing knowledge and great personality. And that's what we're looking to bring to you here on the Homegrown Helpers, is knowledge of these grow consultants and their personality so that you get to match up with the person that you want to learn from. So if you are in the market for somebody to help you out, looking to either become a better grower, to start growing, or troubleshoot that specific problem that you have in the grow, please reach out to us directly. We're going to introduce our guest here in just a moment, and they'll give you their information at the beginning and the end of the show on how to directly reach them. But if you're looking for somebody else, maybe they're not in your area, or you're just looking for, maybe they grow in soil and you're looking for some hydro help, reach out to us. Email us at thehomegrownhelpers@gmail.com, or just find us on Instagram at thehomegrownhelpers. And we'll hook you up with somebody that can help you out, whether that's a phone call, a video call, or in-person visit right to your grow. We want to provide you with the grower that can help you with exactly what you need. So last thing before we get into our interview with this week's Homegrown Helper, when we started recording this show, we had a different name. It was the Grow Geek Show. But as we started recording, that just wasn't sitting well with me. So I switched it up, and now we're the Homegrown Helpers. So that fits really well with what we're trying to do, help people become better home growers. So find us at Homegrown Helpers. And if you're listening to all the previous episodes, there's going to be mentions of the Grow Geek Show along the way. Just completely disregard that. We're the Homegrown Helpers now. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome in this week's Homegrown Helper, Alex. Many of you probably know him as Miami Mango on Instagram. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Hey, how you doing? Nice of you guys to have me.
Yeah, thank you very much. You're kind of a legend in the world of Instagram growers. I don't know if you knew that or not, but I didn't join Instagram until about like a year ago, and you were one of the first accounts that people told me to follow if I wanted to watch good growing happen and good grow advice. So kudos to you for building that account up and doing the right thing there.
Well, I appreciate the love and appreciate the description as legend, but I'm just another just regular dude, just like anybody else, and just love to grow weed. That's it. I just happen to share it on Instagram with most of the people. So I guess they want to come up with names. That's fine, I guess.
Well, I think maybe it goes without saying, but why don't you tell us where you're from, how long you've been growing cannabis, and what made you decide to start helping other people learn how to grow cannabis?
Well, I'm originally born in Colombia. A lot of people think I'm Cuban because of the Miami mango kind of symbolism with the Cubans down here. But I'm actually Colombian. But I moved to Florida at a very young age, so I kind of think of myself as a native Floridian. But nowadays, I travel pretty much the country and do consulting, retrofitting, and train people on the art of growing cannabis. I've been growing cannabis now for approximately about 24 years, 20 to 24 years, but I've been building grows for longer than that. That's kind of how I got into this business of consulting and building these facilities and then growing eventually. I would start building them for friends at a very young age when I was in construction and had a bunch of surfer friends, and I would build one to grow and he would tell the next guy, and then I would build that guy to grow, and it kind of snowballed from there. And you learn from the one that you built before, see what worked, what didn't work, and you also start getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the problems kind of get different as the grow gets with the amount of plants in there. So that's what kind of taught me how to grow, is by fixing errors in actually the construction of them. And fast forward to now.
That's a really unique perspective. I don't think we've had anybody on our show that has quite come into the consulting industry like you had. But I imagine that also provides you a really, I don't want to use the word unique again, but I guess it is unique and different perspective, because you are able to see grows from the ground up and have that experience, knowing that you set it up and then you can see the plant succeed, and weren't coming in trying to diagnose problems without knowing what the foundation might have been.
Correct, exactly. And a lot of times, I mean, we came from Florida where the land of 25 plants will get you a 3-year minimum mandatory. You had to make sure that these rooms or these garages or these outhouses or detached buildings from the houses were absolutely smell proof, that not even an ant outside the facility could smell it, because that's how cops get their warrants in Florida. They just have to go to a judge and say it smells like weed, and pretty much every single judge in the state will sign a warrant, and they come in, not doing the correct job, I guess. So we had to build them super tight, and then with that, sometimes it comes some problems with that. So we had to figure out that the rooms had to breathe at certain times, and kind of stuff like that we've learned over the years.
Yeah, and I mean, we had to learn those things over the years. There wasn't the internet that taught us about VPD, and there weren't really consultants that you could call up and ask about these things. It was acquired knowledge and trial and error. So you're able to take those 20 years of trial and error, and you said, by building rooms, and apply that and carry that knowledge over into helping people now, hopefully eliminate some of that trial and error and get to a better spot quicker. So thanks for what you're doing for the cannabis industry.
No problem. Yes, just like you said, for sure. It was definitely a different era when we were growing up. We were scared of the computers. We would never think of doing a search about marijuana, cannabis, or how to build this or that. We went pretty much school of hard knocks, and we graduated from trial and error university. That's for sure.
Right on.
And if
Cool.
you ever met a grower, God forbid you ever met a grower, not God forbid, but like if you ever met a grower, you were like, wow, looking at each other like you were a unicorn, and you obviously would want to ask them what they did,
Right.
to see if it was stuff that you do or what else you could learn. So they definitely were like sponges if you ever met a grower.
Yeah. I mean, the sponge aspect really hasn't changed, but people are just so open about it, and the knowledge is everywhere. I mean, we're doing a podcast about it. But
Yeah.
the knowledge is everywhere, and almost, just like everything else, too much of it. And people can get overwhelmed, but there doesn't seem to be that passion, like when you met that other grower back in the day and you're like, oh, somebody else that grows weed, like now I gotta pick their brain and ask them everything that I know, because I don't know when I'm gonna meet somebody else like this.
Correct.
So that's a really really interesting point you bring up.
Yeah. Not.
So
Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, everybody has this, this feeling of freedom because of the internet nowadays. Like, Instagram there's just so much information on Instagram that's incredible. I really don't know if there's any more informative aspect of information towards cannabis than reading a lot of these posts and comments that people have on Instagram nowadays. Obviously, I learned from a lot of books. I did read a lot of books that I ordered. And if I would travel, I traveled to Amsterdam and I bought a couple of books out there. So I definitely read a lot. But nowadays, it's just so accessible with Google and Instagram that it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. All right, Alex, why don't you tell us about one of your current grow setups? How big is the room? What type of lights do you have in there? How many plants are you rocking? Deep water culture, soil? Give us a quick rundown.
Well, as of right now, they speak right now, we don't have a current grow because we're in the process of moving to a bigger facility and getting a rec permit.
Okay.
But I can tell you about my last previous, facility that we just had.
Sure.
And obviously we closed it down for some reasons for Prop 64 and stuff like that, whatever. But it was roughly a 3,000 square foot building. I had 3 main grow rooms, had approximately about 780 plants in there. The style is pretty easy to explain, I guess. It's pretty much tables, 6-inch cubes, Hugos, grow ants. We top feed. Either there's a couple of rooms that we do feed the waste, and in other rooms we recirculate. And that was just a test. We're always testing something in my facilities. We're always either doing a side by side or we're trying different products from LEDs or whatever. So we would leave one room as to test, and the other 2 rooms were pretty much production rooms. But we used DEs. We used DEs. There were some systems, ACDEs, the Boss model, which I personally think is one of the best hoods out there. It's got a good 5x5 spread, and we'll set usually anywhere between 20 to 25 plants under that 5x5 light spread under the hoods. What we fed them veg bloom for a long time. Even though I have worked with just about every nutrient company out there, the last one that we were using was veg bloom, and I don't have a problem with them.
Awesome, thanks. So moving on to some grow advice, we're trying to give our listeners just a little bit of your knowledge and a little bit of what you would do in the grow room, and hopefully they'll either learn directly from you, or if they need a little bit of help, they can reach out to you or reach out to us, and we can hook you up. So if you're looking to help out a grower and somebody new comes to you and says, hey, Mango, what's the one thing that I need to focus on to improve my overall plant health? What's the one thing that you're going to tell that grower to focus on to make sure their plants are super healthy?
The correct environment. It tells about 80% of this game. If your plants are in the perfect environment for the week of life they're in.
Okay. Can expand on that a little bit?
For example, let's say, BPD just came in a few years ago, whatever, and a lot of people use it lightly or vaguely or whatever. They say they run BPD, and they do, but some people will run BPD. Just means if you run in this temperature, then you should have this humidity in the room. And then that's fine. They run BPD. They could run BPD throughout from week 1 to week 9 at that same BPD. Some people will use it a little bit differently. You can run hot the first few weeks, make it like Amazon style in the room, really hot and humid, so the plants respirate a lot. And when they respire a lot, they lose a lot of liquid, When they lose liquid, they're drinking more liquid. If you're drinking liquid, you're drinking feed. So as a byproduct, you grow. So we use really hot temperatures and humid temperatures on the first few weeks of a flower, and then we'll gradually bring those down equally between day and night temperature and humidity to match Mother Nature towards the later weeks of harvest. Later on, obviously, we want to have cold temperatures and we want to have a dry climate to protect the terpenes on the trichomes of the flowers. And then obviously it helps bud development later on the harvest weeks when you have a colder climate and a drier climate to help the buds tighten up.
So you made a really good point that I kind of forgot that I did when I started growing a long time ago, and it makes sense. And you said to match or mimic what was happening in the outdoor environment as closely as you can. And I think a lot of growers forget that while this plant grows incredibly, and we can do, essentially some amazing things and whatever we want with this plant in an indoor setting. Plants are meant to grow outdoors, and it's evolved for millions of years growing outdoors underneath the sun. So it's going to grow the best in those conditions. So when I set up my grow rooms, I did everything under my power to try and mimic the outdoor environment as best as I could. I lowering the temperatures, changing the light cycles throughout flower. Like a lot of people will end their flower cycle with 48 hours worth of darkness. I would eliminate 15 hours worth of light or 15 minutes of light every week when harvest started to kind of match up with what was happening outdoors during that fall season. Because we don't just, lose 12 hours of daylight in a day. We would naturally slowly lose a little bit of daylight over time. And that was, letting the plant know that winter was coming and it was time to start pumping out that either the seeds or the terpene and cannabinoid production so it could reproduce. So I think we could do a lot for our businesses or our grows if we try to get back a little closer to Mother Nature. What do you think?
Absolutely. Like I said, that's what we do. We try to pretty much try to make nature's environment indoors for that particular week of that particular cultivar, whether it's an 8 week, 9 week, 10 week, we try to adapt those weeks to match the nature and come out with the best product possible.
Great. So Alex, lots of growers are focused on yield and, getting more out of your plants is obviously important. We all want to make sure that we're getting enough to last us from harvest to harvest. So what would you tell a new grower was the one or two things to focus on if they needed to improve or increase the yield that they were getting off of a plant?
That's kind of a no-brainer for me because it's kind of what got me a little bit on the spot on Instagram when I first came out, and I used to get made fun of all the time when I posted a picture of a nice row of plants. There were roughly 150, 200 plants, and they were luscious and green. And then I would show the next picture and show them totally annihilated, I guess, from defoliation, which we called it plucking for years. But it's, everybody defoliates nowadays. Back when I first started Instagram, I think it was early 2015, I started posting about it. And I would get things on the comments like, "You ruin your grow, you're an idiot, stick OG." I mean, you name it, everything that they could throw at me, they did. And, obviously a few weeks later, 5, 6 weeks later, 7 weeks later, when I would show pictures of the pre-harvest pictures at 9 weeks, they started hitting the follow button because they started seeing that there was some kind of truth or sorcery, and they were going to investigate and call me out on the sorcery or whatever I was doing. So I think it took 2 or 3 times, 3 different harvests for people really start kind of maybe for the first people to maybe venture out and try it. So to answer your question, I would have to say defoliation. But make no mistake about it. This, I mean, defoliation is believe it or not, is an art. You just don't go in there and shred a plant and take every single leaf off. Like I've seen many times, people will tag me on their post, and then I just shake my head like, I mean, the plant needs to breathe, buddy. You know, you just took every leaf off the freaking thing. So it is somewhat of an art, and it is dependent on a bunch of things. You know, strain dependent, crowding dependent. You know, the age of your plants. Obviously, all this stuff has to come into play. And what I tell people is, you're going to gain extra yield if you defoliate and you defoliate properly. I do it twice. I don't do it before I flip my plants from veg into flower. I don't touch it. I leave every piece of foliage that they have on them. And the reasons why, we're going to go back to the before, because I run hot. If I'm running hot, I want my plant to sweat. And as it's sweating, it's drinking. As it's drinking, it's taking up nutrients. As it's taking up nutrients, it's growing. So that's why I do not take a leaf from any of my plants during veg or during the first weeks of flower. Now, fast forward to week 3, end of week 3, you know, day 21, first week of week 4, day 22, day 21. Okay, now all your bud sites are there. They're set. They're ready to go. So now what you want to do is you want to take, obviously, all big water leaves off your canopy. So the sun or the light can penetrate through the top branches down to the bottom branches and get those nugs some size, you know, some development. Now, obviously, the plant will relief itself. It will regrow leaves. They're not going to be as many and not going to be as big as originally were, but it'll still relieve itself. 3 weeks later, day 42, which is the end of week 6, right before it gets to week 7, 8, and 9. So we pretty much do this at a third and a third of their life. First third and second third. And now counting as a 9-week strain, 63 days. So that's where we go 21, which is a third, 42 a third, and then the last third they get to harden up. So anyway, at day 42, we remove also strategic leaves. Once again, you don't go in there and violate the plant, because now you actually got to be extra careful, because now you have nugs with pistils and they're nice and fluffy white. They're just going to start turning red and mature here shortly. So you strategically go into the plant and you remove any big leaves, shade leaves that may be blocking a lot of light to the bottom nugs that now have grown, and now you want to get those nugs to harden up. That's what's going to give you the weight. So I would have to say the full defoliation plucking is probably the biggest thing that you can do. If you defoliate in that week 9 and you stand up on a chair and you look on top of the canopy and you look down, if you can see tray space, a lot of tray space, you can probably add more plants to that canopy to take up some of that space that you're seeing. I mean, you kind of want to be able to be limited of seeing the tray, because that means there's still light hitting the tray. So then if you add plants to that square footage, that's also going to bring you more yield. But there is a happy medium. If you obviously overcrowd, you're going to start going against everything that you're trying to do. So it may take you a couple of times to get defoliation right on whatever strain whatever cultivar you're working on.
Great. That is a great rundown. Very detailed and in-depth. Thank you very much for that, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to take just a quick break and thank our sponsor, Harvest Mutual Seed Bank. We got lots of feedback when we were doing a listener survey for Growcast, and we're ramping up a membership program very shortly for Growcast, and everybody wanted a relationship with a top quality seed bank. And so we went out and we found that because that's what people wanted. So Harvest Mutual Seed Bank is pretty new, so new that their website isn't actually up right now. But by the time this interview goes live, I certainly am hoping that it is. So it's harvestmutualseedbank.com. And these guys are working with some of the biggest breeders in the game right now. So if you go to their Instagram page, you can see all of the companies that they're working with. But they have the Prolific Coast, Dungeon Bolt Genetics, Top Dog Seed Company. They're working with Gage Green Group, Exotic Genetics, Mass Medical Strains, Oni Seed Company. I'm going to hook them up with Dynasty Genetics, People Under the Stairs, Mephisto for your auto flowers. They have some DJ short seeds. They have the full lineup and more breeders coming every day, because once you get this bevy and full lineup of breeders, every other breeder wants to be listed. So this is going to be one of the premier seed banks. They're going to have everything, not just the top sellers, not just the junk that some of the other seed banks get, but they have everything. So use the code GROWCAST at harvestmutualseedbank.com. That's going to give you free shipping on your entire order, whether it's 1 pack or 10 packs. They'll get it to you for free. Use the code GROWCAST. And if you're interested in saving just any more money, we do have a special code that will get you 10% off, but that is only for our members. So if you're interested in becoming a member, head over to growcastpodcast.com or thehomegrownhelpers.com. And I know the membership will be right there. We haven't decided on the final number yet, but head on over to those websites. Find that information out. We're looking for between $5 and $10 a month, and we have exclusive access to guests, bonus content from the show regulars, from all the shows, all the podcasts that we produce, but also discounts from amazing vendors. Outside of this 10% with Harvest Mutual Seed Bank, we're working with nutrient companies, soil companies, a smoking device. I won't go any further than that, but really, really cool stuff that we're working on for you guys. So head on over to growcastpodcast.com or the Homegrown Helpers and learn more about our membership program. But to use that code one last time, it's GROWCAST at harvestmutualseedbank.com. So Alex, do you have any unique grow tips or tricks that you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, I kind of just did share that the defoliation technique. I think I gave a pretty good rundown of that one. That's probably one of my major ones that I kind of tell people to do. A lot of the other stuff is, I mean, there's just so many different tips. And like I tell anybody, I tell this to everybody, not any one trick, not any one kind of light, not any one brand of nutrients, not any one certain set of mediums or table or anything is going to get you that magical 4 pound of light thing. Pretty much every cultivar's got its maximum put out genetic capability. But whenever you start taking slacking on a little bit here and a little bit there, or whatever, you're just taking 1%, you're taking 3%, you're taking 2%, you're taking, 0.5% here or there, and then you're left over with whatever your yield was. So pretty much my advice is for everybody is just to keep everything as constant as possible. Be in tune with your garden. Even if you have a troll master, let's say, which I'll get into later, you got to walk in your garden. So I can walk into a garden, pretty much feel the garden and know if something's going right or not. I don't know. It's hard to explain by the feel of the plants of what they're telling you. It's something that maybe in time, people develop or something. But you got to go walk into your grow room every single day.
What is this Troll Master that you were speaking of?
Troll Master is a brand of a controller that came out some time ago, but it didn't really catch any steam because there were some old engineers from Sentinel back in the day, and they worked also, I think, for Titan or Autopilot or whatever. And then I guess they started their own company and seeing how the market was going, and they took the product over to Sunlight Supply, which has Titan, and Hydro Farm, which has Autopilot, and they pretty much denied the guy any sales rights with their company. So I happened to meet the guy actually by total 100% accident. Was revamping a 120, 140 light grow in Oregon, Portland, and the guy that I was working for at the time met this Asian guy at a grocery store, selling this controllers. So he talked him into buying one, which I was surprised. And I hated the idea because I'm old school and I like one controller to operate one thing. In case that breaks, then you replace that. So these two Chinese guys came into the facility and they hooked up this light controller and they ran a bunch of wires all over my room that I just finished. I was just ready to take pictures for Instagram because everything was just looking so proper. And then all of a sudden I have a rat's nest with wires going all over the room and the lights and I had a mess. So I was kind of pissed off and the owner just told me to work with it or whatever. And so anyway, I ended up cleaning up the wires and didn't really pay much attention to the controller. I didn't like it. I didn't want to like it. I fought it for a long time, but after using the controller, I fell in love with it. Easy to operate. I think one of my slogans is even a caveman can do it. It actually operates every single piece of equipment in your grow room, whether it's humidity wise, temperature wise, exhausting wise, lights, and it'll even do irrigation, but to the minute on the Hydro-X. There's another Aqua-X that does irrigation. But anyway, the controller has got so many great features that I can sit here and talk to you about it all day. One of the major ones is it has a free app that anybody with a phone, whether it's Android or Apple or a laptop, can access your grow room 24 hours a day. And you're not only seeing what's going on live, but you can also control it. You control it through your phone. You can adjust feeding times, or you can adjust, your light. It will send you alerts. It'll dim your lights. It actually controls more lights per controller than, like, say, a Gavita controller does their own Gavita lights, or Lux will do their own Lux lights. I'm not going to say any names, but there's a lot of light controllers there, light companies that have stopped making their light controllers because Control Master's Hydro-X has pretty much taken over, and they're here to stay. There's a lot more to come from TrolMaster 2. Some things to be released here in the future that they're bringing out. And TrolMaster pretty much came out to be like a household name in the cannabis industry nowadays. And one of the better things about it is it was kind of geared to the small to medium grower, but it will run up to 512 lights. And anybody that's been in a 500 or 200 or 100 light room knows that a 512 light room would be enormous. So it has the capability to run all those whether your equipment is 240 volt, 120 volt, or anything like that. It can operate it.
Now, where can people get these? You mentioned having a store?
Yes, sir. Everybody can. You can get these at www.mangotech.store. I'd be greatly appreciated if you do come by and visit my store to purchase these great controllers. If you want to see how-to videos, you can see them on YouTube or on my second page, my backup page, which is mangotech_. That's at mangotech_. And even TrolMaster's actually got a Instagram page also. You can also visit them at TrolMaster_agro for agriculture. Plenty of videos in there. And we have an excellent tech support team that if you call, we will also help you with purchase assistance. You're not sure what you need to operate. Some people will have, big dehumidifiers or small dehumidifiers. Somebody might have one, another person might have 5. So if you call our purchasing assistance team, Ed's the man. Ed's better than anybody. He's got all these products, memorized in the top of his head, and he can spit out you an order, quicker than I ever could. So you can email him at ed@trollmaster.com, or if you want to go into my the www.mangotech store, you can also look at the number right there on the front page.
So what was that web address again? I think we got it a little mixed up. So
www.mangotech.store.
Great. Okay. All right.
Yeah, also, if you go into Instagram at Miami Mango or Mangotech_, there's a link on my bio.
Awesome. So this is just isn't a monitor. This is a light controller. So
Well, we sell various products now. We sell the HydroX. Their flagship at first was the HydroX, which is an environmental controller. And like I said, it does everything that I said it does. And the next one is the AquaX. The AquaX is an irrigation controller that will feed down to the second. It'll feed up to 30 solenoids or pumps, and it will also monitor your tank for EC, temperature, and pH. And this product also works with an app and will send you notices if there was some kind of issue with your tank, with your watering. Like if you failed the watering, it'll let you know. It'll send you an alert as long as you set the parameters and set up the equipment. It'll let you know if your plants did not get fed. It'll even let you know if you had a flood in your grow room, because there's a flood sensor that you can set on the floor, and if it detects water, it is going to send you an alert that you have some kind of issues.
nice.
It will also send you alerts if your pH goes off and stuff like that. So you can pretty much monitor, any room, and you can go to dinner with your wife and know that your stuff's safe, or you can even go snowboarding for the day or surfing.
Nice.
And they'll let you know.
Great. We'll plug that one more time at the end of the show in case people are really interested and want to head over to that website. So, Alex, what character traits are most prevalent in the most successful growers that you know? Like, what type of characteristics are necessary for a grower to be successful in the grow room?
Well, that's a pretty easy one for me. I'm going to say that it would be persistence. There's a couple of sayings that say that water doesn't cut through granite because it's of its strength, but it's because of its persistence. And there's another one that says persistence wins when talent is lazy. And both of these sayings are so very true. I can't say enough of it. If I wasn't persistent when I first started growing, if I was mad at my first couple of harvests, I could have thrown in the towel and you just forget it. It's not worth it. But there's something that comes in you and you just say, you got to try. There's a better way. You just got to figure it out. So you just got to go at it and go at it and go at it and change one thing at a time, or a couple of things at a time, that you can be able to describe which one's what. And then you implement the things that work. You implement those, and the things that don't work, you find a better way for it. Eventually, that's how you become a better grower. There's just no other way about it. Definitely being persistent.
Yeah, we talk a lot about it on this show, and even Growcast, about not being afraid of making mistakes and learning from them. We suggest tracking everything that you do with your plants. But not being afraid to make mistakes and then learning from them and getting better. That's the only way that you're really going to improve at anything, but especially growing. So,
it's funny because I usually tell people that when I consult, as a joke, I tell them that I'm going to teach them exactly what not to do. After 30 years, I know exactly what not to do. So definitely don't be afraid to make mistakes. Hey, I get told you sometimes I read too much into stuff, and I've tried stuff where I've ruined 150 or 200 or even 300 plant rooms because you tried something and it just didn't come out like you thought it was going to. So, what are you going to do? You got to bite your lip, be pissed off, curse a couple of times and get back on the horse and, and obviously go the opposite, whatever decision that you made,
Right.
You ain't got nobody else to blame but yourself. But I tell you what, you're not going to make that mistake again.
You got it. So as we wrap up our regular podcast here, Alex, and a reminder to our listening audience, we publish our regular podcast free to the world for everybody to listen to. But we do have a little bit of bonus content that we're going to ask Alex another 5 questions after we wrap up this podcast. And that bonus content is published over on our website at thehomegrownhelpers.com/bonus or /bonus content. And you can simply input your email address and then download the rest of Alex's interview or the rest of the interviews from all of our guests. And we get a little more personal in those last 5 questions. more growing focused, but also a little more personal and help you to get to know them a little bit better. So as we wrap up here, Alex, any last bit of advice, any parting words that you'd like to share with every grower that's listening to you right now?
Like I said, just, be diligent, stay persistent, make sure that you go in your grow rooms every single day. No matter if you have the best automation, there's nothing like being in a room, whether you visit or somebody visits, somebody needs to go into those rooms and just look at the plants, the plant's health. And if you want to learn anything else from me, you're more than welcome to come follow me on Instagram, at Miami.mango or at mangotech_. I'd love to be able to have you follow me and see where you can learn, what I can teach you.
And your online hydroponic store again is
www.mangotech.store.
And that's where they can find Trollmaster lighting controls and environmental controls and all sorts of other useful things that they might not be able to find in their local hydroponic store?
No, well, there's a couple of things that we have on there that we have actually unbelievable pricing that people should come and check out. I don't try to carry everything under the sun because I just don't feel like doing that inventory all the time. But I do like carrying stuff that's badass that I if I wouldn't use it in a grow room, I don't carry it. I'll tell you that right now.
Cool.
So, but there's a couple of brands that I like to highlight. Lux Lighting, I carry their lights, and also Grower's Choice. I carry some of their lights, some of their 315s, and obviously Grower's Choice 1000 watt CMH. And Lux Lighting has a great hood on their lights also, and it's a very sexy light. So come on out, check out the store, come peep, and hopefully make a purchase.
Awesome. So that's mangotech.store. You can find Alex at Miami Mango or at miami.mango on Instagram, or it's mangotech_. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So, and again, that's how you can reach Alex directly. Or if you're looking to enlist Alex's services and you can't remember any of that stuff, you can find us at thehomegrownhelpers.com or email us directly at thehomegrownhelpers@gmail.com. If you're looking to enlist Alex's services or any of the other consultants that you've heard here on the show before, we're all about getting you the knowledge that you need in the form that you need it. So again, we really appreciate your time today, Alex. We're going to wrap this up, but we'll be back with 5 more questions in our bonus content. So audience, head on over to thehomegrownhelpers.com/bonus. Download the next 5 questions that we're going to be asking Alex as we get a little more personal. And don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, share, and tell your best friend about how awesome this podcast is. Thanks so much, buds. And until next time, happy growing.